A brand new episode of Max Talks Box Office here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Denenberg. Today I'm breaking down the box office of this past weekend, which was August the 7th to the 9th, 2026. We're going to look at the overall numbers, both domestic and worldwide, and preview what's hitting theaters this upcoming weekend. So I'm Max Denenberg. Welcome back to Max Talks Box Office. And without further ado, guys, let's get into the numbers right away, as always. And at number one, of course, is Spider-Man Brand New Day. This is for the domestic box office of August 7th to the 9th, 2026. And Spider-Man Brand New Day, in its second weekend, did drop 59.7 million, but it makes it the third highest grossing second weekend ever, which makes it at a whopping $145 million second weekend. The film is up to $655 million domestic and $1.6 billion in just 2 weekends. Spider-Man Brand New Day continues to rack up the numbers. The film is already over $1 billion just internationally. That is spectacular. The film is now tracking to get to $2.7 billion for its overall one, making it one of the most successful movies, of course, of all time. Truly amazing stuff. Spider-Man Brand New Day, and I think The Odyssey as well, which we'll talk about in a second, has really re-energized the theatrical exhibition. First time I would say, honestly, in this impactful, obviously we had Barbenheimer, which I think excited a lot of people 3 years ago because those are not superhero projects. Yes, Barbie is a big IP, but those are two properties that technically aren't movie franchises yet. And the fact that Barbie got well over $1 billion, and then you had Oppenheimer, a war biopic, getting nearly to $1 billion at the same time. This event style of those two films, I thought also gave Hollywood a major boost. Spider-Man No Way Home, I would say, was the first big hit after COVID. It came out in December of 2021, so we were still kind of in between in COVID, but also a lot of things were starting to open up again in the world. And it was the first big over $1 billion hit after COVID-19. So I think those two eras, I guess, the end of 2021 and that 2023 summer. And sure, we've had $1 billion movies like the Super Mario movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, Inside Out 2. We've had moments, but we haven't had movies like this completely re-energize Hollywood. We're now seeing so many studios now trying to get their movies back in theaters longer. We're seeing studios like Netflix, for example, wanting to put their movies now in theaters. They put one of their awards films later this year, a big window in theaters instead of just like a week or a couple of days. So you're going to see more studios, I think, energized to put movies back on the big screen. Now, does that mean everyone can be a Spider-Man Brand New Day or The Odyssey or Toy Story 5? No. But there is clearly a big market like there was in 2019. And I do think out there, a lot of people, both in the business and out of the business, really gave up from a box office perspective their hope of getting to a point like this after COVID. And I've been covering the box office since, let's see, since the summer of 2021. So I've been covering the box office now for 5 years. And there have been some moments, but it's been a lot of more depressing stuff to talk about during this box office breakdown shows than excitement. So I'm just thankful that we're at a point now we're getting to 2019-esque numbers with one of the biggest movies I think of all time here with Spider-Man Brand New Day. The Odyssey is also at number two this weekend. It's in its fourth weekend, so it's a month in theaters, only dropping 38.5%. Another 31.5 for The Odyssey. It is up to 461 domestic and $1.1 billion for The Odyssey. This is now the highest grossing film ever for Christopher Nolan. It beat Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, his other billion-dollar films. Especially Dark Knight Rises was his highest grossing film until now. Unbelievable for Christopher Nolan. Oppenheimer was not a fluke. He did it even better here with The Odyssey. We'll see if that means even more Oscar victories. Oppenheimer did get a lot of Oscar victories on that night, especially in major categories. So we'll see if The Odyssey in the beginning of the year can get into awards hunt and be a tough competitor like Oppenheimer was. But The Odyssey is the highest grossing film of Nolan's career. He is definitely the most famous and most marketable director that we have in Hollywood right now. You could honestly say he might be the only one or one of the only people that you could stick a name like that on a movie without any actors attached, and people will just sign up for a movie. I think Ryan Coogler, I think, is in that ballpark right now. We'll see if Denis Villeneuve is as well post Dune 3. But I'm very fascinated to see if we get more directors who can stamp their name on a movie, and that's what gets people in the theater. I think we're losing a lot of that. Christopher Nolan is one of, if not the only directors right now who can do that. Then we have a pretty steep drop off for our bottom three here on the top five. One Night Only opened from Universal this past weekend. It made $5.7 million domestically, has not opened internationally yet, so we don't have those numbers yet. Now, One and Only is a $25 million budget. So this is not a super expensive movie, which makes sense. These are not expensive lead actors that you need to get for a big movie. The movie just needs to gross like $63 million to break even. I don't know. I don't really think it's going to get there. But I think it just proves you for rom-coms, I think you do need more marketable names. And Monica Barbaro has never been a leading actress. She's been in small stuff and some other hits like Crime 101 earlier this year. She was in that. Obviously, Top Gun Maverick, for example. Callum Turner, really, both these actors have just never led a major movie like this. So I get the low risk, high reward perspective, especially teaming with Will Gluck, who directed Anyone But You. But even Anyone But You, Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney in particular were much bigger stars when that movie came out a couple years ago than Barbaro and Turner are now, for example. Like Barbaro, yes, is in Top Gun Maverick, but she's not one of the leads in Top Gun Maverick, right? Sydney Sweeney is one of the main focal points on one of the biggest shows of all time in Euphoria. So that's like a major difference. And I do think that, again, Turner, Powell, much more marketable, much more famous, even at that time a couple years ago, than Turner and Barbaro. Again, Turner thought maybe his hopes of being Bond could maybe hope that this movie could get some box office buzz over him becoming the next James Bond. I don't think that's going to happen, and it didn't really affect this box office either. So One Night Only is at number three. At number four this weekend is Super Troopers 3. This comes from Searchlight, opening to $4 million. Now, this has been a franchise that's been around since 2002. And the reason why it's been around for so long is the first movie had a $3 million budget back in 2002 and made $60 million in total. So it got a sequel in 2018. This movie is definitely very niche. This franchise is very niche. The biggest film in the franchise is like 31 million worldwide, which was the sequel back in 2018. So this is not a big franchise. It's very niche. It's also very cheap, so very easy to make. I didn't really see it marketed at all. Like I never got this trailer once ahead of any of the movies that I saw in theaters. Searchlight, I usually go to all their Searchlight movie screeners. Wasn't invited to a screening for Super Troopers 3, so I don't know who saw this movie, but people obviously did. It's at number four. And wrapping up the top five this past weekend is Toy Story 5, which is in its eighth weekend. Yes, 2 months straight in the domestic top five. It's made another 3.9 million. The film is up to 470 domestic and 1.093 billion right now. Amazing. 2 straight months in the domestic top five. That is very impressive because Minions and Monsters has now fallen off the top five, and Moana has fallen off the top five. The other notable thing to say here also is that Ice Cream Man from Eli Roth only made $2 million. I think a lot of people thought that was going to make a little more hay, even though it was in under 2,000 theaters, but it did not. The reviews were bad. That also did not help. Let's look at the overall domestic numbers for 2026. There is Spider-Man Brand New Day with 200 million of ground over Toy Story 5, The Odyssey at 3, Super Mario Galaxy at 4, Michael at 5, Project Hail Mary at 6, Obsession at 7, Devil Wears Prada 2 at 8, Backrooms at 9, and Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu is at number 10. Looking at the worldwide numbers so far this year, Spider-Man Brand New Day, there it is at $1.66 billion. The Odyssey is now at number 2, just over Toy Story 5, but that lead will increase over the next month as The Odyssey is only in 1 month of its release. Toy Story 5 is now 2 months in to its run. Michael F4, Super Mario Galaxy F5. So right now we have $5 billion movies this year, and they are all from the United States. The last couple years, we've had a lot of billion-dollar movies. Some of them have come from China. That usually makes up like a quarter or half of the billion-dollar movies. So it's good for America that all five of the billion-dollar movies this year are from them. Devil Wears Prada 2 at 6. You have Project Hail Mary at 7. Obsession is at 9. And Minions and Monsters wraps up the top 10 at number 10. So let's look and see what is hitting theaters, guys, this upcoming weekend. The big movie is The End of Oak Street. That's a new film starring Ewan McGregor and Anne Hathaway, directed by David Robert Mitchell, who directed If Follows, Under the Silver Lake. So we will see how that movie does. Anne Hathaway, another movie for her this year after Mother Mary, Devil Wears Prada 2, The Odyssey. Now she has this, and she still has another film coming out later this year. So we'll see if people have had enough of Anne Hathaway or they're on the Anne Hathaway train, because again, Devil Wears Prada 2 and Odyssey are big hits. For kids, you have Paw Patrol, the Dino movie hitting theaters this weekend. So we'll see if Paw Patrol can do better than End of Oak Tree. Seems to be a very tight battle based on projections. So we'll see who comes out on top out of the new releases. You also have a new film from Angel Studios hitting theaters this weekend in The Brink of War. It's the new film starring Jeff Daniels as Ronald Reagan and Jared Harris as Gorbachev. You have J.K. Simmons in the cast, Hope Davis. More of a star-studded Angel Studios movie. We'll see how that does in theaters this weekend. So what are you guys' thoughts on the box office? Let me know down in the comments. Like this video. Please follow me on social media as well. Subscribe to my Patreon channel at any tier. Would really mean the world to me. And also please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Help me get, we're under 2 subscribers, guys. 2 more subscriptions, and we're at 500 followers. I'll see you guys soon.